And here we go once again. Dell Jackson, Bruce Badgley, pick and roll. Hey, from Burt's Bottle Shop here near Penn Manor High School. I mean, Millersville, right? I mean, that's where we're located?
Yep. We're real close. We're at Comet Drive, as a matter of fact. Burt's Bottle Shop and Comet Drive.
Well, I tell you what, they talked about the fact that, this was a quiet night here at Burt's normally on Wednesday. No way. I mean, it's a really great crowd on hand. We've got our own crew here. We've got some guests coming on, Chris Bradford, Mike Gross. It's going to be a hopping time here at Burt's tonight. I mean,
absolutely. I'm excited. I really am. I mean, we've done this. This is what, our fourth show.
Yeah.
Everything good.
Yeah, no, and we're starting to get some traction on people watching the show, talking about the show. Actually, I'll be honest with you, I have a give and take with guys, in between the week on what's going on with the show. I had some good comments on the fact, that one of our coaches that we're, going to have on this week is Sean Schleffler from Chambersburg, a really good guy. But, Bill Wolf also from Cumberland Valley. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that's royalty when it comes to, basketball in the state of Pennsylvania, and they're right here in District 3.
Yep. And we also have some guests tonight, like live guests. It's packed. We might go a little bit longer we normally go today, Bruce, but that's okay.
We don't really have a time limit.
No, we don't. Nope. And people can fast forward when they're doing the replay.
Well, good. Let's talk a little bit about what the last week was like. For both of us, we kind of obviously we always merge with games and crossover here between LL and whatever like that. But talk a little bit about what you guys were focusing on at least on the LL side.
Well, the biggest thing that we had going on this week is we had the Mid-Penn Showdown, Mid-Penn LL. The Manheim Central has a tournament, whatever they want to call it. They take 6 teams from the LL and 6 teams from the Mid-Penn. They match them up. They play each other. They try to make competitive games, the bigger schools versus the bigger schools. And we were there this weekend. I was there, and the website had some technical difficulties, but I did put a wrap-up on the games, and I'm kind of looking at them right now. We had Middletown Penn Manor. Middletown won by a couple. We had McDevitt Cedar Crest. McDevitt won by 12, but the game was pretty close all the way through. Ephrata beat Northern, pretty much in control the whole way. And Warwick and Lower Dolphin game, we're going to talk about that a little bit. That was just a knockdown. I mean, both teams really got after it. They take charges, well coached, very intense game, very, very intense game. The next to last game was Central Dolphin and Hempfield. So we might see 2 teams that are 6A tournament teams play each other, and Hempfield kind of took control late in the game. They did a real good job, and they played Hempfield style basketball. So they're kind of slow, grind, take advantage, go to the foul line, make their foul shots. Nothing real flashy with that. And then the last game was Cedar Cliff and Manheim Central, and then Cedar Cliff has 2 6'10" kids. Mm-hmm. But Central did a good job. They spread the ball out, shot the 3, and I think they were either in the lead or it was like 1 at halftime. And then Coach Ty Sabercool, Cedar Cliff's coach, he went to 1 big man. He took the other big guy out, so they did a little bit better job on the defensive end. On Monday, I saw Trinity and Mennonite, and Mennonite was without their leading scorer, Cam Hurst. He had an injury, so they were limited. And Trinity's really good. I talked to Coach Kostelak after the game, and he's classic. Oh my God,
he's incredible.
We're gonna get him on. He's on the schedule to get on. So I don't know him and his 700 wins. I don't know if he'll remember, pieces and bits and all that, but he still has it. So we talked about that after the game. And then last night I was right next door. I saw Hempfield and Penn Manor play. So Hempfield's number 1 right now in Section 1. So 10-point game. Penn Manor's at the bottom, but it was a Section 1 game, and teams are very competitive.
Yeah, I tell you what, the one thing that I noticed last week, and you kind of touched on it in the way that you summarize your activity, is I think the intensity of the games has gotten ratcheted way up since we got into conference play, right?
It's all conference play now, and then it's getting pretty serious for those teams that are vying for district spots. They're looking at their power rankings. Earlier in the year, they don't do that as much. It gets to January, and you're always playing your league. You know who the heck you're playing. There's no surprises, so it's the little things, and as teams play, unless they're very, very good, as teams play, the margin shrinks. So going down the road, we're going to have some really, really close games.
Yeah, I think in all of the leagues, I mean, you can see that tightening, with the exception of, one or two teams, even in the power rankings, and we'll get into that later in the program. We're going to go through all the girls and all the boys power rankings here in District 3 for an update. I mean, things are really getting close, the margin of error, and also because of, the conferences and how the games go, I mean, the power rankings are going to start to fluctuate now.
Yeah.
I mean, these next 3 weeks, I think we're going to see teams, really either go up or go down. I expect there's going to be a lot of volatility just because of what I talked about. I think that you've got some upper echelon teams, and then you've got the rest of the division fighting it out, right?
Yeah. And teams are playing each other. So we have Middletown coach on later, and he's talking about who he's playing in his conference, and he's talking about we're going to see them in the district. So
that's what the show is all about, right?
Yeah, kind of nutty.
I mean, but that's what the show is all about, and I think that's why, quite honestly, Chris wanted to be on.
Yeah.
He's the one that approached us to be on the show, right?
Yeah, we never turn anybody down that wants to be here live. I'm telling you right now. Never.
We never turn anybody down from, obviously, from being on the show or whatever like that. So, if there are any coaches out there watching, definitely get in contact with us.
Sure.
I mean, Bruce and Dell here, we'd be more than happy to talk to you, whatever like that. But, we had a couple players of the week for you. We had, who's this? Avery Sapp.
Avery Sapp
from Warwick.
From Warwick. I interviewed him after the game. He had 20+ points. He's a small guy, but man, he plays really big.
Well, let's bring him in and let's hear what he had to say after the game.
Tonight, dude, like 20+ points all over the floor. Talk to me about the game in general.
It was a tough game. It was probably our closest of the season. Came down to the buzzer, and we really just focused on getting the 50-50 balls and playing as a team and finishing the game out.
What adjustments did you guys make in the first half? It seemed like Lower Dolphin was taking a lot of charges on you guys and being pretty physical. What adjustments did you guys make to that?
Yeah, our coaches helped us talk about avoiding the charges, taking an extra dribble, getting around them, and we really just needed to box out more. They were killing us on the O boards. I think if we limited them on the O glass, we were set for the game.
So talk to me about your game a little bit. I mean, you can get into the rack, you can shoot the threes. I mean, what have you been working on lately?
Yeah, that's what I pride myself on, getting to the rim and shooting and just playing hard defense, and yeah, that's mainly it.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
You got a big, coming down the section is going to be nutty, isn't it?
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay, back here in Burt's. I mean, he had a sweet performance there for Warwick, and
Big win.
Yeah, big win.
Big win. And they followed it up with a big win last night against E-Town, so they're rolling right now.
Great. And our other player of the game was?
Miguel Pena, who they call Miggy, M-I-G-G-Y. And in the third quarter, I think he scored 13 points to make the margin, to stretch that margin out and then give Hempfield kind of a nice cushion to coast home with.
Will you talk to Iggy after?
Miggy.
Was that
Miggy?
Miggy.
Miguel Pena.
Miguel Pena. Here we go.
Especially the second half. What adjustments did you guys make at halftime?
Really, the only thing is Coach told us to get energy. We kind of went into this game last daisical thinking it was going to be easy, and it was everything but that. So he just talked to us a little bit, and we turned it up.
It is a Section 1 game, yes?
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said.
What do you got to look forward to here? I mean, you rang up a lot of points. You get your guys involved. Some big plays by other players. Do you want to mention any guys that you thought played a good game tonight?
Played a good game. I think Michael Hester, I'm going to give a shout out to him because he's hard on the boards and defense especially. He doesn't care if he scores or not. And really everyone just plays with as one. So everyone plays good game.
Yeah, I thought Hester had like 4 block shots. So
yeah,
he did a good job on the other thing. Hey, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, back here at Bert's Miggy
Miggy.
with the
Miggy.
player of the game.
That's what
performance.
Dad calls him, so I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Dad's like, that's Miggy. I said, all right, Miggy's my man.
Well, Cumberland Valley girls head coach, he doesn't mind being called Bill Wolf. He's, a great guy, really royalty when it comes to, coaching girls basketball here in the state of Pennsylvania. And Dell and I were honored to have a little time with Bill. So we're going to bring on Bill Wolf from Cumberland Valley, head girls basketball.
Wolf from Cumberland Valley with us tonight. Coach, thanks for joining us. We record this on a Sunday, so we appreciate you taking some time from your weekend to talk girls basketball here on Pick and Roll with Dell and I.
All right, I'm happy to be here.
Well, good. Hey, listen, talk a little bit about Cumberland Valley girls basketball. I mean, you've been fortunate. I guess one of the things that people probably know most about you is you had, this family of basketball players, go through Cumberland Valley. Talk about that and talk about the whole culture there of Cumberland Valley girls basketball.
Well, I guess the family you're referring to are the Jaycotts, I would assume.
Yes.
I've been blessed to have the Jaycotts in our system, and it's very unusual that you have 4 players, in this case 4 girls, that are Division I players that are spaced out over a 12-year period. So, we have had a lot of really good players in our program, but obviously having the Jaycott sisters has made a big difference. So we're really appreciative to the contribution that they've made in the program, and Jill, just being a sophomore, the contribution that she'll make here in her last several years. Cumberland Valley, rich basketball tradition. I think one of the first things that comes in mind as far as big schools are concerned, we are tied for second place all time in state championships with 4. We're tied with Oakland Catholic as well as Altoona. Downingtown East is number 1, but they've since split to Downingtown. Well, they were Downingtown at the time, I'm sorry. And now they've split to Downingtown East and Downingtown West. So, so we've had a rich tradition here dating back to 2002 when they won a state championship under John Smith. And their big player there was Carla Thomas, who ended up going to Vanderbilt and then ultimately into the WNBA for a while.
Wow, incredible. You got a question for Coach there, Dell?
Well, as a coach, Coach Wolf, I just want to know, because in the LL, we don't have the travel you guys have. How do you deal with the travel to State College and Altoona? How do you schedule around that?
Well, we're very fortunate, at least speaking for the Cumberland Valley School District. If we have any trips 90 miles or longer, we end up getting charter buses, and that makes a big difference. I mean, you put a team in a charter bus as compared to sending them up somewhere, in a school bus, So again, very fortunate. Cumberland Valley has provided that for us. And, our non-conference schedule, we go out to Pittsburgh to play Mount Lebanon, North Allegheny out in Pittsburgh. We were supposed to play Blair Academy in New Jersey on Friday, but they ended up getting COVID. So we travel long distances. But like I said, it's very nice that the school district does provide the charter coaches.
Let me follow up, Bruce, with a question. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was your schedule. I looked at your schedule. I look at your power rankings. Obviously, you weren't afraid to step out, and the program that you have, you shouldn't be. How long ahead is your scheduling? Like, is it a 2-year, or do you do it year to year to look to say, you know what, I got a really good team. I'm going to go to New Jersey. I'm going to go to Pittsburgh. I'm going to go to Washington, wherever you go.
Yeah. Well, obviously the league is done in 2-year increments. So, we're locked in there. But then what we do is, I plan ahead, and, what I always try to do is try to play the best teams possible. Kind of the plan is, if we can get some non-conference games against some schools from out of DC or New York City area, New Jersey, that ultimately will be as good, if not better, than maybe what we see in the state competition. Then we don't have that game shock on a given night. You're playing someone and it's like the best team that you played all year long. I think it really makes a big difference if the kids are kind of battle tested, and there's not that game shock on a given night when it's like, wow, this team is like a lot better than we expected, or a lot better than we've ever played all year. So I think playing these really good teams helps us ultimately. I mean, it may hurt our power ranking at times, but ultimately you need to win games, whether it's in the districts or in the state. So I think ultimately it makes you a better team.
Yeah, I like that word, game shock. I'm going to have to remember, that. But is there anything, obviously, you're trying to get your team ready for the postseason, playing those types of, travel games and tough teams. So, related to practice schedule and, how you work the team, I mean, are there any changes in philosophy that you go through? Obviously, you're pretty familiar with playing in the postseason. So, how do you keep your team fresh throughout, an entire, season, conference schedule, and then postseason play?
Well, what we always do is we taper our practices. So we'll start off the year at 2.5-hour practices in those first 2 weeks. But it don't take us too long to get to 2-hour practices. And then we get down to 1:45. And then when we go into the playoffs, we just practice 90 minutes. And the kids are fresh. They don't come to practice like, oh my, a 2.5-hour practice or anything like that. They know we mean business. We're going to go hard for 90 minutes. And I don't know, it's worked for us anyway. So I just think keeping your kids fresh and wanting them to, again, advance in the playoffs is an important part.
Hey, Coach, we haven't talked about your team, so give us a little bit about your team. Who's your top players? What do you got in the pipeline? All that good stuff.
Well, this year, we're 12-2 right now. We lost to Dallastown in the first game by a point or two, maybe. Point or two, and then we got beat by North Allegheny, who was the top team in the state last Saturday by like 10. I'm real pleased at where we are right now. We've been hit with injuries. We've already lost 3 girls that, if they wouldn't have been starters, would have been in our top 7 to ACL. So they're out of the picture. And then we played North Allegheny without Deja Hill, our starting post player, and actually our backup post, the freshman Sinai Hill. Last name's Hill, but they're not related. So we've had to deal with injuries, but ultimately the team has responded really well. The kids that needed to step up have. Obviously, with a team, if you really want to make a push in the playoffs, you need to have a really good point guard and you need to have a really good post player, and we're blessed with both. I mean, we have Jill Jaycott at the point. She's outstanding, one of the best players in the state, regardless of class. And then Deja Hill, she's a 3-4 year starter, tremendous athlete, great rebounder, tough to match up with, and a great defender. So we have those 2 kids, good post, good point guard, and then these other kids that have stepped in and have played, are playing really good basketball. So I like where we're at. I think that we need to continue to improve, but I think we do have the opportunity to make a push in districts and then hopefully qualify for states and at that point of the season, see where we're at. And then always injuries always play a big part as you go into the postseason.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about, you're really getting into the teeth of your conference schedule from the teams that you've, looked at in the Mid-Penn. Who are some of the ones that you've got your eye out for, challenging you for a conference championship?
Well, obviously, our big rival is CD, and they're very good, and they're continuing to improve. Caroline Shirey, she was the girl that tore her ACL, and she's came back this year. And, to be honest, I think she's about 80%, and she's going to continue to get better, get stronger. And I think by the end of the season, she'll be at 100%. So, we have that program to contend with. And I think, I might be wrong, but I think the last 7 district titles have been won by either us or CD. So the minute, we start thinking about our competition, CD's always one of the first teams on our mind. As far as other teams in the league, Altoona has a really good team. We beat them maybe by 10 at their place, and they were winning, for a lot of the first half. State College has improved. So I would say those teams, definitely CD, Altoona right behind them, and State College has improved, and then we'll see kind of how some of these other teams progress as we finish up the season.
Wow, that's a good summation of the conference, good summation of the district, and a good summation of obviously the pedigree that is Cumberland Valley girls basketball, one of the top programs in the state of Pennsylvania. We've got you right here in District 3, and, it's an awful lot of fun to follow you. And, we want to thank you for your time here this evening and taking some family time of yours to talk to Dell and I. So, listen, thank you very much. The show will air, obviously on Wednesday. So tell your friends about Pick and Roll, okay?
I will.
All right.
Good luck.
Thanks a lot. All right. Take care.
Okay, back here at Bert's Bottle Shop, and I'm joined by Chris Bradford from Middletown. Manny, thanks for joining us tonight.
Pleasure. Saw Dell last Saturday at Doe Run Elementary, and he twisted my leg and got me to come out here. So.
Yeah, right. Twisted your leg. I don't think so. I mean, but no, we really appreciate it. What do you think of the setup here? Pretty cool, huh?
I've seen you do some things technologically already tonight. I know I'm not capable of. No, this is really awesome. I mean, as a coach, I've been tuning in. I've been listening in. I've been following, and really, I know I'm not the only coach that thinks that. We appreciate what you guys do for the student athletes at the District 3 and in the general area, man. We do appreciate it.
Well, we like doing it, and especially, the premise of the show is we really didn't have a District 3 show. Mm-hmm.
Ultimately,
we all end up at the Giant Center.
That's the hope, yeah.
I mean, right. I mean, in one way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. It all funnels in there, and that's really what the show is designed, is just weekly, take a look at, snapshots of conferences, interviews with coaches. We talked about even beforehand what great coaching we have in the area.
Oh, absolutely.
With Bill Wolf, he's just incredible. And, the girls and the boys side, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I know one of the things that I've appreciated that you guys do is give these coaches a platform. And as a coach, we're always stealing from other coaches, whether it's philosophy, whether it's X's and O's, whether it's an approach to something. And so, it's an avenue for us to learn every week and try and get our guys a little bit of shine. And it's certainly appreciated, absolutely.
Well, good. One of the things that we were talking about here is, your team and the season. Talk a little bit about your team and talk about, where you guys are in the season right now.
Well, January basketball is a lot of games and sometimes not a little bit of time. And we're coming off of 2 straight conference losses. One that's still really fresh last night with Bishop McDevitt and Coach Gaffey. down big early, and we're able to storm back, get it to 2 in the fourth, and just weren't able to close. 18 from 38 from the free throw line is not a way to win a basketball game, and go back into the gym today and look to correct. And we had talked about before we came on what losses are able to teach teams in the middle of the year. These our first 2 blemishes this year with Bishop McDevitt and Trinity last Friday, 2 very well coached teams that in all likelihood, if we do what we want to do, get into the district tournament, you're going to see one of them again. And so you got potentially 3 capital teams in District 3, 4A. They're all lessons to be learned. And I know our guys took it that way. We came in with a fresh approach in the gym today. We're able to get some work in, and we go right back at it tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that is. You have to have short memory, of the wins and the losses. But, and we were talking, obviously, before we started here, but how important now these games are. You're playing teams that, you're going to see again. And, it means so much in the power ranking because obviously, you want to be playing, and not only, to win your conference, but ultimately in a district to host playoff games. That's why these games were very important.
Well, yeah, and so the 1 and the 2 get to play home basketball games this year until the Giant Center. So you want to be playing at home until you go to Hershey. We're in that 2 spot tenuously right now. It's all, I think 2 through 8 are 0.6 something or another. As the coaching eyes get focused on those numbers every day, after every game, every week now, those things become important of how those district tournament brackets will break down and what the matchups will be and where you're traveling to or who you're hosting. We're thankful to be able to have this back after what was unique last year and different last year. The opportunity to play in a state tournament if you win a few games in that district tournament. It's not just the winners championship like it was last year, which we were fortunate enough to come out of last year. But this year's a new year and new opportunities and again, January basketball. I talked with Dell about it last Saturday. I talked with Coach Gaffey last night before the game. We both just look at each other, take a deep breath. January basketball because you're right back at it the next day.
Yeah, and fortunately, we haven't had, it hasn't been one of those like weather years where you're playing a lot of, back-to-backs. I mean, the back-to-backs that you're playing are planned. I mean, it's from a Friday to a Saturday. Mm-hmm. How neat is that now that, that the weather has stayed nice and you're really kind of following the schedule as it was written?
Well, you like to be meticulous and plan everything as a coach. I'm sure every coach in the world, the best laid plans never tend to work out, but being able to touch base with your guys in a basketball gym every day was something that was probably few and far between last year.
Right.
And to be able to do that on a continuous basis, to be able to add wrinkles at this point in the year when you need them, when you're seeing teams in conference play for the second time, is necessary. Like it's one of those things that if you don't get it done, you're relying upon the fates, and sometimes that doesn't turn out the way you want it to be. So we're able to attack every day, with a goal in mind. And now when these back-to-backs show up, you're able to put in that 2-day game plan, which is never fun but always needed. Mm-hmm. And we go and got New Oxford coming to town tomorrow, and then turn right around on Friday night with Susquehanna Township. So it's January basketball.
That's what I like about it. I mean, you guys are like, this time of year you're so fired up. I did the Exeter Reading High game, afterwards, and man, I tell you what, I was talking to Rick Perez, and I mean, his head was spinning. I mean,
guy's got a lot of energy, man.
He's got a lot of energy.
I've spoken with him a couple times, just direct messages as the coaches in the area, looking for film, looking for this, that, and the other thing. And I'd send him off every once in a while to a coach, not necessarily guys I know well, but that dude has got some juice, and his team's fun to watch. We're basketball fans first and foremost as the coaches in the area, and Reading's one of those teams that got a lot of eyes on them, and they play a fun brand of basketball.
Yeah, they do. Who are some of the other teams that you like to watch in the area?
Well, and
besides yourself,
I'll stick with Mid-Penn because I know that a little bit more. I mean, I know I did my 5 years at Annville, but not been around the LL for a ton. Ty at Cedar Cliff, those boys are big.
Yeah, and it's nice, and also I think probably his his Christmas suit game always seems to be the highlight of like the December basketball.
Listen, once upon a time, I had it in my mind to wear a tie every game, and then COVID happened, and we got away with polos. And I think I burned all my ties. Sticking in the Keystone though, like Paul Blackburn at Hershey, those kids play a fun brand of basketball that's been fun to watch this year. And just seeing them the other night at York Suburban, watching a game, Cary down at Columbia. I mean, they're still undefeated.
Yeah, I got to see them a couple times.
They play fast. They play like we strive to. And we got to play them last year. I think the new kid that they have there from Academia, we played Academia last year too. So I was like, I recognize that kid, but we've got to see some similar common opponents, and so you get used to watching some of these other teams on film. But it's nice to be back to somewhat semblance of the typical routine of basketball and the season. And it's with the wins and the losses, you still enjoy doing what you do every night.
Well, that's good. Chris, hey, listen, thanks for your time, man.
Pleasure.
Thanks for stopping by.
Pleasure.
I know
Appreciate
Dell's
it.
been treating you well over there. We don't say how well, but
he's
been treating all our guests well
Appreciate
today.
what you guys do very much, and thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure meeting you. I'm sure that we'll see you down the road.
Paths
And
across.
best of luck the rest of the year, okay?
Thanks, man. Yep.
All right, thanks a lot, my friend. All right, we're going to bring in our a couple of commercials here and bring in another guest and talk some girls basketball. But we want to thank our friends at Brood Athletic. Brood Athletic, I'm wearing like some of their new styles here. We're going to be giving away some great new outfits. Actually, the same shirt that I'm wearing here tonight. We're going to be doing a drawing for that. So Brood Athletic, we thank them very much. We also want to thank our friends at Win Marketing. I can't thank Win Marketing enough for all of their support here, as well as Nook Basketball. They've done a great job in supporting LL Hoops. It's kind of the basketball center of Lancaster County Nook Basketball. We also want to thank our friends at Apex Auto Exchange. Apex Auto Exchange is a local family-run automotive and ATV dealership that specializes in unique vehicles such as performance cars, classic cars, and trucks, motorcycles, and vintage two-stroke ATVs. Financing options are available for everyone. They work with all credit histories, bad credit, no credit, bankruptcies, and more. Certain vehicles on their lot are eligible for special financing. Thanks to Apex Auto Exchange. My Jersey Designs, so much out on the internet about what My Jersey Designs is doing for kids, families, and awards all over Lancaster County and all over the country with these specialized design jerseys, historical jerseys, you name it. Thanks to My Jersey Designs for your support here of Pick and Roll and the Big 60. Big tournaments coming up out at Spooky Nook, sponsored by the Big 60. Check it out at thebig60.com. So I'm joined here by our good friend, Mike Gross. Thanks for joining us, my man. You all hooked up
My pleasure,
on the,
buddy. I'm hooked. I feel hooked.
Yeah,
I feel hooked. Very hooked.
Well, that's good. I had a great time here.
Very nice.
How do you like that?
Very impressive.
Yeah, it is impressive, the swag.
At first I thought Cincinnati Bengals, but no.
No, this was through Brood Athletic. We're actually going to be going to have a contest giving these away.
Man.
And it's going to be
Entrepreneurial spirit.
Well, and they're also going to, for teams that want to sign up, they'll be getting discounts.
Right. I hear you.
Getting into AAU basketball, 7-on-7. They really do a great job with all of that. But, the one thing that, we want to get into, and what power ranking does Dell have up there? Does he have the girls?
This is the district boys. He has the girls on another page.
All right, let's. So we're scheduled to start with girls. So let's get the girls going here. If you can pull that up there. And I had some notes here about the girls here. I tell you what, I was very impressed this week with all of the action on the girls' side. Last week, we did the Lancaster Catholic Manheim Central game, which was, unfortunately, Manheim Central was a little short-handed due to injury.
Yeah, and they were without their best player, I believe. And actually, Central beat them last year in what was a really significant upset, kind of a turning point in Catholic season. And, of course, they ended up going to the district final, losing to DeLone, which is as good a program as there is in the state. But,
yeah, right.
And they're just as good. Catholic and DeLone, those teams are right back at it,
Yeah, that's the thing about girls basketball here in District 3. When you add in, the royalty that, Cumberland Valley has shown with state championships and whatever like that, a real hotbed, for girls basketball.
Well, but eventually Cumberland Valley's going to run out of girls named Gico, though. And
she's only a sophomore. Jill's only a sophomore.
I'm saying eventually, before the end of time.
Yeah, Bill talked about that in his interview about how he's been so lucky to have 12 years of that family, go through there, and how uncanny it is that they're all Division I girls, basketball stars.
That's rare. I mean, that's really unusual.
Well, on the girls' side too, Columbia doing a great job in 2A. They're undefeated so far, but Trinity had another great week. In 4A, DeLone had a great week. I mean, they beat Berks Catholic and York Catholic here this week to really kind of solidify their top spot. And, as we were talking with Chris there a little bit, how important it is to have home court advantage in the district playoffs, right?
Yeah, which didn't used to be nearly as much of a factor as it is now when so many games were at the Giants Center, as you know. DeLone also beat Lancaster Catholic. I mean, that whole group there in 4A, that's a really strong group in girls in our district with DeLone and Berks, and Eastern has been very good. Lancaster Catholic. I think in Lancaster County, Columbia, boys and girls, are one of the stories of the season. They're 33-0 combined. They have these. Columbia has these Dredge twins, who are the daughter of Margie Rhodes, who was a great player for Columbia back in the 80s. Played at LaSalle. She was at one time the leading career scorer in District 3 history, male or female. I'm not sure if she still is, but she was at one time, and her kids are terrific players, and they beat Eastern the other night too. So Columbia is really a story.
Yeah, it is.
In our neck of the woods.
Absolutely. And when you consider the run that they even had on the football side, with the boys this year.
Yeah,
I mean, they've had a tremendous athletic year. 5A, Gettysburg, they've won 5 in a row. They are on a roll. And in 6A, my gosh, Hempfield's back on top, but Cedar Cliff's still undefeated. Dallastown and Cumberland Valley, that is going to be, and Central York, that is just going to be one heck of a tournament.
6A in our district, in girls in particular, it's always pretty evenly matched. Cream comes to the top, but Cumberland Valley has seemed slightly more vulnerable than usual. They lost in a tip-off tournament at the beginning of the
right.
Who did they lose to? Dallastown, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So they're slightly more vulnerable. Hempfield has become a really good program. They live on defense. I don't know if they have the really elite scoring, dazzling type kids, but they're very, very solid. And there's a lot of schools like that. That's going to be a good district tournament.
It is going to be one heck of a tournament there. And creeping up is, Wilson out of Berks County there for having a pretty solid season that, quite honestly, not a lot of people were talking about. they're definitely, I think, the surprise team in District 3. Right
yeah, and I see they have 4 losses. I didn't even think they had that many. Didn't they beat Lancaster Catholic? They beat one of our good. Oh no, they beat Hempfield. They beat Hempfield. That's right. Which obviously is that's Hempfield's only loss, and they're the number 1 seed.
Well, the girls' side has really turned out to be just a really, very competitive from top to bottom in 6A. Like, boy, I haven't seen anything. But the other thing that you're involved in is you're now involved in the Pennsylvania All-State selection process, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I kind of inherited the running of that, which is a delight. No, it's not a delight. But the history of this thing is, for many, many years, the Associated Press did that kind of stuff. All-state teams in all sports. They had a guy named Alan Robinson, who was the sports editor out of Pittsburgh, was the sports editor for Pennsylvania of the AP, and he did that kind of stuff. And then AP changed, and they just stopped doing that kind of stuff. Alan Robinson retired, and then a guy named Mike Bullock, who I'm sure you know Mike. Yeah, he did it for a long time, and then he was in and out of jobs, and he didn't want to do it anymore. And it's like, well, if somebody doesn't do it, it's not going to exist anymore. So I took it on, and this is going to be my 3rd year doing it, and it's frustrating in a way because there's no ideal way to do it, but we keep tweaking it, and we have about 70 voters from around the state who nominate and then vote. And we actually have, last year we had 7 all-state teams because we had 1 per class, plus the non-PIAA, like the West Town and schools like that. So we had 7 teams, which, I mean, I'm not crazy about having 7 teams. I want it to be a real significant honor, but I don't see a better way to do it. I really, it would be tough to do it. So anyway, I'm sounding sort of grim about the all-state team. I'm not. It's fun, and it's great to be able to do it. And we have state players of the year in each class. We have a state coach of the year in each class. So that we really don't get started with that until after the state finals are over. Then nominations, and then voting, and then the team shows up in April, I think.
Well, that's good. I mean, we really wanted to, obviously introduce people to the fact of, you're the guy that kind of running the program here with that, and we appreciate everything that you're doing for the all-state teams, and it is a lot of work, and it is an enormous task to get all those 70 people, on board.
The first year, it was really a lot of work, and then I figured out some ways I got some help and figured out a way to do it a little more efficiently. But, the thing is, you think of all-state as being a natural part of high school sports. Well, I mean, if we weren't doing it, it wouldn't exist right now. We wouldn't have all-state basketball. It's hard to believe. So it's very much worth doing, and, I hope people value it, and I hope they check it out in April when the teams come out.
Well, good. Listen, we appreciate that. And next on the agenda here, we're going to have an interview with Sean Schleffler, great guy from Chambersburg. Been there, over 300 wins, 22 seasons. So here's our interview with Sean from
Chambersburg joins us. And Coach, gosh, this is your 22nd year at Chambersburg. Your team having a pretty fine season so far. Why don't you fill us in on your team this year, who you like, and what you expect out of this group the rest of the season?
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate being on here. I'm a big fan of LL Hoops and what you guys do. For hoops in central Pennsylvania, and man, the people in the Lancaster-Lebanon League are just so fortunate to have you guys doing something like this. I'm just very, very envious of what you guys do for the LL and all of basketball in central PA. So thanks for having me. I appreciate being here. I'm really excited about our team. Last year was really rough, and I felt very badly for the group of kids that we had because they didn't have the off season. like we typically would have. And as a result of that, we started out a little slow. I mean, we started playing some really, really good basketball teams at the beginning of the season. And, it taught us a lot about ourselves. We weren't successful in terms of wins or losses, but we grew. And by the end of the season, I thought we were playing really, really good basketball, just not good enough to get into the playoffs. So this year we had a normal off season, what we typically are able to do in the spring, summer and fall. And that has really helped this group out a lot. We also returned one of our players, Eli Shear, who was hurt last season, and he's added so much to our team. But I really like the pieces that we have. We've got a lot of pieces that have continued to grow for us throughout the season. So I'm just looking forward to us continuing to grow. We play in a very competitive league, in the Mid-Penn, and every night is a really tough basketball game. So that helps us as well. And our non-league schedule, I think, is really tough too. So we'll just continue to try to get better each and every night out, whether it be practice or games, and see, where we're able to take this thing.
Go ahead, Dell.
Well, hey, Coach, I got a couple. I always look at it from a coaching point of view, although I'm, part of the media anymore. Tell me a little bit about the geography of Chambersburg. Like, you guys are in the southern end of Pennsylvania. Do you in the off season, do you go down into Maryland and play different teams, or do you kind of stick to yourselves? I always thought Chambersburg had a really nice place because they are where they're at. You're kind of isolated, and nobody seems to point the finger at you until it's too late.
Well, I think there's definitely pluses and minuses, Dell, with where we're at. I'm envious of someone who, might play, whether it be in Harrisburg or York or Lancaster, in that they have a pretty short drive to a lot of different schools. They can jump in their vehicle and go 30 minutes in any direction and face a bunch of 6A schools. And we don't necessarily have that here in Franklin County. So, yeah, we take advantage of being able to get down to Hagerstown fairly quickly. So we'll do a lot of things in the Hagerstown area. We typically play in the summer league at St. Maria Goretti High School. Okay. And St. Maria Goretti has a great program playing in the Baltimore Catholic League. And they bring in some really good teams in the summer for us to play against. So that's definitely something that we take advantage of. It's not, it's probably as close for us to get to Martinsburg, West Virginia, and also to get to Frederick, Maryland, as it is for us to get to Harrisburg. So, there's times that we'll go down to those cities and play down in there as well. So we certainly take advantage of that aspect of the geography, but where we may, lack some of the things that maybe teams that we play against might have. But like you said, that might be a benefit to us.
Yeah, that is a very interesting area, because actually you can get anywhere between 4 states within about a half an hour. I mean, between Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia, and then Virginia, just bingo, bango, bongo there.
Yeah, we've, we have some AAU teams that we put together basically of our kids as they were growing up. And a lot of times we'll travel down to like Harrisonburg, Virginia. And that's a really easy 2-hour drive right down 81 to get there and play against some quality opponents. We'll go to Winchester as well. So certainly, being able to jump in a car and drive down 81 and within an hour travel through 4 different states, that's pretty neat.
Hey, Bruce, I want to hop in because I get sharing stories with guys. So, Coach, I coached in Winchester for 4 years in the junior high program. And that area has great basketball. I mean, the high school basketball kids. I coached junior high, and I walked in, and I had kids dunking in 8th grade, and I'm scratching my head. I'm like, does everybody do this, or is it just like me? And, I found out that in that area that it's really, really good. It's ACC type of basketball. It's not that power play that we see in the Big East, and that's changed a little bit, but just kind of, it's kind of cool to hear you say some of the teams that that I scouted and things like that. Let me talk to you about your schedule. I looked a little bit. You split with Cumberland Valley. You lost to Cedar Cliff early. I saw Cedar Cliff this weekend. How do you guys stack up against the bigger teams? Do you have some height on your roster? Can you talk about your kids?
Well, our biggest player is actually a freshman, and he's played tremendously well for us. He had 25 yesterday against Harrisburg, which is his biggest scoring game of the season. He's had 2 or 3 double-doubles, on the season between, scoring and rebounding. He provides, a shot blocker actually at the back end of our defense, which is awesome to be able to have that. We've got other guys, who are willing to sacrifice their body and take the charge and take the hit, but he's someone who can send the ball back at you when you come down the lane. So we really have taken advantage of him and utilizing him. He's got great energy. He's a freshman, and so he's got energy to burn and plays, really hard and runs the floor really well. So that's not that's the extent of our height, but certainly playing against Cedar Cliff and playing against Cumberland Valley, those are 2 challenging things when going up against those 2 teams, because CV has some really good interior players who have just wreaked havoc on opposing teams, and certainly Cedar Cliff has the same thing. So you've got to make sure that you're well prepared when going against those teams, because they can really hurt you with their interior play. We lost to CV the first time, but then came back and got them the second time at home, which we were really pleased with that win, because I think they're a really good basketball team, and they're playing even better now.
Yeah, it's you have we talked at the beginning of the show here. You've coached for 22 seasons. You have over 300 wins. What's your most memorable experience in basketball?
Oh man, the thing probably I always go back to is just when I was a kid. I had some tremendous experiences as a child. My first memory of a Christmas present was a basketball that I received from my parents. It was a 76ers basketball. And when I was in elementary school, our elementary school went to 6th grade. And as a 5th grader, our phys ed teacher chose me to be a captain of a team. And I was the only 5th grade captain, and I was the Milwaukee Bucks. So that started a lifelong love of the Milwaukee Bucks. My mom and dad both drive bus. And so after school, a lot of times I would just be able to stay in the gym with the phys ed teacher and my math teacher and my science teacher. And they would just allow me to go in and shoot or play pickup with them. And I used to do that every single day. And I had such a love for basketball and a passion for it. And I love baseball as well, and football, and I played, all 3 sports. But basketball was just my passion, and it's taken me to a lot of great places, met a lot of really, really good people. And certainly we've had some tremendous success, at Chambersburg, but, a lot of the losses kind of stick with you as well, more so.
From Chambersburg joins us. And Coach, gosh, this is your 22nd year at Chambersburg. Your team having a pretty fine season so far. Why don't you fill us in on your team this year, who you like, and what you expect out of this group the rest of the season?
Well, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate being on here. I'm a big fan of LL Hoops and what you guys do for hoops in Central Pennsylvania. And man, the people in the Lancaster-Lebanon League are just so fortunate to have you guys.
Oh, sorry about that. Had a little technical difficulty with the thing there with Sean, but a great guy. Over 300 wins, 22 seasons. So well respected in the coaching community here in the Mid-Penn Conference, right?
Gets the most out of his guys. I remember 20 years ago, this was one of the all-time great McCaskey teams, and he upset them in the district final, and he really that was one of the best teams ever from Lancaster County, and just an exceptional, I thought, coaching job by him to get his team over the top in that game, and he's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, terrific. Well, listen, we want to thank a couple of our sponsors once again while we have a little bit more time here in the program. Apex Auto Exchange. Apex Auto Exchange is a local family-run automotive and ATV dealership that specializes in unique vehicles such as performance cars, classic cars and trucks, motorcycles, and vintage two-stroke ATVs. Financing options for everyone are available. They work with people with all credit histories, bad credit, no credit, bankruptcies, and more. Located in Ephrata, check out Apex Auto Exchange. Certain vehicles there are not eligible for buy here, pay here, but inquire at the dealership for specific information. And we want to thank Win Marketing. Win Marketing has specialty, customized digital marketing programs that are cost-effective, reach larger audiences, have a variety of sources, and have measurable results. You can call Win Marketing today at 610-914-3928. That's Win Marketing. We also want to thank Nook Basketball, the home of basketball here in District 3. So many tournaments going on, so much instruction. Check out Nook Basketball. And some of those tournaments are the Big 60 coming up here in June and I think July and August. Great stuff there. And then My Jersey Designs, you know, starting back in 2019, now you can get a 24-inch by 36-inch professionally framed picture that can be shipped to your front door of the jersey that a replica jersey that you wore in high school for only $250, and it includes everything, including shipping. Team discounts are available. You can contact them at myjerseydesigns@gmail.com. All right, Bruce Badgley, Mike Rose. All right, hey, we're going to finish it up with some power rankings on the boys' side, which, quite honestly, we talked about the fact that, we were going to really kind of talk about everybody other than Reading High here.
Well, Reading is operating in a different league than everybody else in District 3, and that's an enormous credit to them. They're almost competing at a national level, and this is a public high school. Granted, it's a gigantic public high school, but still, it's a real public school. This is not Oak Hill Academy or La Luminaire or IMG. Yes, and for them to be doing what they're doing is amazing, but they are beyond a prohibitive favorite in 6A in District 3.
Yeah, I mean, after seeing them the last couple of weeks, especially after the Friday, Saturday that they had over Vertical Academy and then Archbishop Wood. Now, granted, it was at the Santander Arena and then the Geigel Complex, so they were technically, at home, but they still had to go out there and perform. And as you said, this is just, a public, regular high school that's putting on this performance, not it's a boundary school, not a non-boundary school.
Right.
I guess that's the politically correct way to put it, right?
Right. You're nothing if not politically correct there, Bruce. Way to go. Way to go.
All right.
So you want to go to 5A?
Let's go to 5A next. Yeah, we'll work our way down.
I think 5A is going to be really interesting and competitive. Lampeter Strasburg from right around here has had a tremendous year, very high skill level team. 4 3-point shooters, a terrific point guard who is only a sophomore, made All-State last year as a freshman, Ty Burton, and they have 4 kids that can really shoot it. I covered them in a game where they had 17 threes in a game. They shot, in the first half, they shot 19 for 26 and scored 50 points, and 10 of the 19 field goals were threes. I mean, that doesn't get a lot better than that. you could question their schedule a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Okay, they're 15-0 and they've killed almost everybody they've played. You could question their schedule a little bit. West York has had a really nice
Great
year.
schedule. We had Coach Bull on first week there. They keep, they just keep on winning. And, that's important. Just like we were talking about with Coach Bradford. These wins that are going on right now are going to be so important in determining.
Power rating, home court.
Exactly, home court. I mean, District 3, I think, has done a great job when they did that home court advantage. I think they amped up the value of the regular season play by doing that, by making the power rankings.
Hershey and Palmyra have had really nice seasons. Solid teams. They've had really good years. They're in there. A team that maybe people aren't thinking about is Shippensburg. Mm-hmm. They lost their opener to Lancaster Mennonite, a good program from our area. But they have a kid named Anthony Smith at 6'5", 280, going to Minnesota to play football. He got hurt in that game, and that may have been part of it. And they have an all-state, his name escapes me at the moment. They have a kid who I think made all-state last year, a guard. So that's, and they haven't lost since that game. So they're going to be there. I think there's 4, 5, 6 teams in 5A that could be pretty legitimate.
Well, even Exeter too. I mean, they kind of got handled by Reading High last night, but there's always a Berks League team that comes out of 5A that gives everybody fits.
Okay, for a while it was Muhlenberg there, and then they moved up to 6A. Yeah. 4A. Again, I think this is really, really competitive among several teams that have had really nice years. I think that those top 3 there, as we're looking at it, Berks Catholic, Middletown, Trinity, that's pretty even. Berks Catholic probably a slight favorite, I would think. At least one of their losses is to Reading, so
Correct.
We almost throw that out, right? So those 4A, 5A, I think are pretty hard to figure at this point.
And that's why just what we talked about here, why these regular season wins are just so important.
My editor is here.
Oh, okay. Did she know you were going to be here?
I don't think so.
I was wondering, there was somebody over there and it looked like she was getting ready to get sick. All of a sudden.
You of all people on earth should not say, "I'm sorry, I'm off tonight."
I worked about 4 hours today.
The most overworked person in all of journalism. Laura Thompson, the great sports editor of LNP.
Wow.
But I digress.
But we were talking about 4A there, and that's going to be, quite the dogfight. But when you talk about these evenly matched teams, that's where these power rankings become so important. Why every win is so important. Why every win of their opponent is so important.
Yeah, and that's why these league playoffs are going to be good when these teams are facing each other. It's getting a lot more interesting as we go. 3A. For my money, Columbia is as much of a favorite in 3A as Reading is in 6A.
I would agree.
And one thing about Columbia that I want to point out is, a couple things. One is, man, they play fast.
They do.
I mean, they are hyper speed all the time. I talked to their coach in one of their games, and he said, we practice with a shot clock. Because whenever we're live, we practice with a 30-second shot clock because we want to go. But they have coach's son, point guard, 4-year starter, who keeps them from flying out of control when they're going fast. Kerry Glover. He's terrific. And the other thing about
Coach Glover on a couple of weeks ago.
He does a great job. So anyway, the other thing about them is our league, the Lancaster Lebanon League, has this goofy 5-section format. So the top 4 sections play crossovers against each other. Section 5, which is Columbia, does not. So they have a lot of leeway to schedule non-league games, and they have played Trinity. They played Berlin Brothers Valley, which went to the Class A.
Chambersburg
Class A state final last year. They're going to play on Saturday Executive Education from Allentown. They've done a nice job of, hey, this is our year to really do it, scheduling up, and they've been very impressive. You look at the number 2 seed in AAA, which is York Catholic. They're 13-2. Columbia played them and beat them by 30.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're looking at there. So
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is. Now, doubling. Antietam.
They're always there.
Yeah, they're always there.
Always there. I think they're
having a big year.
Now, isn't their only loss to Mennonite?
Their loss is to Lancaster. That's what I was going to say. Their loss is to Lancaster Mennonite, which is the 2 seed. They have 6 losses, but they have some really good wins. I told you about.
I saw them lose to
Shippensburg.
Columbia. I mean.
Yeah, I saw that
and
game
Berks
too.
Catholic.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw Mennonite twice. I saw them lose to Berks Catholic. Saw them lose to Columbia.
They have played a really solid schedule, and they're going to be a tough out in 2A. I think them and Antietam are pretty even. I think after that, there's a little bit of a drop off. One thing that's interesting about our district right now is, with a couple of exceptions, what we think of as the big city schools or the inner city schools are way down.
Yeah.
Harrisburg is historically down. York is way down. McCaskey is not very good. Steel High is not very good. So that's a piece of the picture in District 3 that really is unusual this year.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
For whatever reason, and I think it's going to yield some, some real excitement in the next few weeks. I mean, just like you talked about, the conference tournaments are going to, forgetting about obviously, the teams that win it. I think it's more of the, supporting cast that the conference tournaments are so important, and not only getting in the district, but to try and get at least 1 or maybe 2 home games in the district. Playoffs are going to be very, very important. And then when you consider the fact now that you have, the PIAA fully allotted with, if you get to a certain point in the district, then you get qualified for the PIAA.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Huge.
Last year, you had to win the district to get to states. That's not the case this year. We're back to the format that people might be familiar with. And the other thing about this is, if you don't qualify for your league playoffs, then you have a week off there between the end. So what do you scrimmage? Do you practice? Do you give them some time off? I mean, that's a coaching thing. So there's a lot that goes into it, and here we go. We're getting to that time of year.
Yeah, it gets. I'll be honest with you, it gets a little complex for me when it gets in the district, and then
6 classes.
Well, 6 classes, and then there's busy. The runner-ups are playing here, and if they win,
the 5th place
a loser bracket game. If they win, 2 loser bracket games, they get into like a play-in game for the PIAA,
and sometimes those play-in games are. If you're knowledgeable about the state bracket, I hate to say this, but you're thinking maybe it'd be better if we lose this game and finish 6th instead of 5th. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, there's still, and quite honestly, we still have 4 weeks before district playoffs start?
Yeah, another couple weeks of regular season, and then a week of league playoff, and then the districts. And then the states.
But now it's really starting to get into the picture is starting to form, and we're starting to see who the real true contenders are.
Yeah, I mean even a couple of weeks ago we wouldn't have been able to make much sense out of this, but now it's
at least and you kind of know the schools that are looking even beyond districts. And we've got a couple of those teams, and we were talking even before we did that. I mean, who in 3A statewide is going to be there to possibly contend, a Columbia, and obviously, we've kind of seen the 6A side because Reading's already played them. I mean, which is good.
That's another thing about them is they play a schedule, man. They go out and play people.
Yeah, it's really great. So it's going to be interesting, and hopefully the fans, enjoyed us here this week on Pick and Roll. It was a jam-packed, hour and 15 minutes, but 3 coaching interviews. We talked about, all of the power rankings. Pretty incredible. I mean, when you think about it.
Covered a lot of ground.
We covered a lot of ground. I'm sure people will be fast forwarding it to whatever ground they want to.
Well, that's what this kind of media is for. Yeah, everybody does that.
Well, good. Listen, my name's Bruce Badgley. This is Mike Rose. Dell's over there entertaining our entourage who joined us here. But thanks for joining us here this week from Bert's Bottle Shop here in Millersville. We'll be back next Wednesday at 7 o'clock with more coaching interviews, more interviews with players, and more updates on